So, hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily. I am joined with two of my favorite people already, even though I've just met them, Charlie
Yes.
Saxton and Gaelan Connell. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
Dude,
having us,
thank
man. That's
you.
so
I'm
awesome.
hype.
You are our favorite person too, by the way. I think.
Yes.
Well, when all this is over, we're definitely starting a band. So
Let's
that's all I'm
go.
saying.
Done.
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 We're
I can
doing
I
it.
I'll
can
play
play a little
cowbell, whatever
bass.
you need.
You play bass. All right, yeah. Galen play cowbell. I'll play
Yeah.
different percussion instruments like Slipknot. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. I've got a match to go right with it. So, uh, even though I'm a tangential guy, I want to focus us on why we're here today, which is to talk about Art of a Hit, which is coming out on August 20th on digital VOD from Giant Pictures. These two gentlemen, Charlie being one of the co-writers and also playing Charlie in the film, and Galen, the director and co-writer. I'm going to jump right into the questions. This one might feel a little obvious because I know a little bit of your backgrounds, but I know you both have some experience with the music industry prior to going into filmmaking or while you've been in the film industry. And I'm curious, kind of, to what extent your experience kind of influenced Art of a Hit and how, at what point you're like, we need to turn this into a movie.
Well, Gail
Wow.
and I have both been in bands since we were in high school. And so we're very familiar with the dynamic and sometimes the egos of what goes along with being in a band. And so when we came together to write this movie, we knew exactly the vibe that we were going for in terms of like how the band should interact with one another. It's always just a cacophony of people just talking over each other or playing over themselves while someone's trying to tune up. So a lot of that we definitely had personal experience with to bring to the script. Galen, you want
Yeah. And I think also my experience personally with the music industry has mostly been a disaster. I was in a high school band and we peaked when we did a battle of the bands at the 930 Club in Washington, D.C., which is like a famed venue. And that was it. And after that, it was like nobody cared. Which, we channel all of that into the movie. Love music. And I think music is something also it's so beautiful because you just can't give up on it. There's a reason why you have all these actors who are like super famous and then it's like, but they still got to be in a band, like nobody actually cares. But it's because it's therapy, right? It's like it's something
Right.
that's part of you and you can't quit it. And I think that's what's so beautiful about the movies. Thematically, we're trying to explore what really happens when like Ryan's characters is truly the last person on earth to realize that their band is way past their prime. And then all the sort of tensions and, like Charlie talked about, all the elements of being in a band ourselves, we try to funnel into those characters.
As someone who was also in a high school band, I can resonate. Although we never really peaked
Yes.
because I guess our peaking was playing my senior prom when we showed up too drunk to be able to really play. So
Wait,
we
that's
ended
the
up
most rock and
playing.
roll thing ever, though.
That's pretty rock and roll.
It
Yeah.
was very rock and roll, but at the same time, if I could go back and do it over again, I might have taken a few less shots of Bacardi. So
Well,
uh,
after the show, yeah.
the
Yeah.
Clash are real upset about what we did to White Riot. Let me just put it that way.
Oh
So
my God.
So I fell in love with the location you all filmed at, and I was curious to know, did you film in France? Where was this place you found, and what was the shooting schedule like?
Yes, we filmed in France. I'm actually in France. I live in France, and
Oh,
the castle I live in this area called Dordogne, and it's known as the land of 1,001 chateaus. And the film commission here is two people. They're awesome. Fanny and Thierry, and you can just call them, and they were like, "You should check out this castle." And I said, "Great, we have no budget. We're a tiny film. We need a castle." They said, "This has something to do with music." And so we went to go see the castle, and lo and behold, the owner of the castle is Miles Copeland III, who was the
wow.
manager of Sting, the manager of the Police, brother to Stuart Copeland. Like when that happened, we were like, we don't have any money, but this is a sign that our
Yeah.
movie is going to get made and we're doing this in the right direction. So that was sort of a jaw-dropping moment. And Miles is cool as shit and let us use a bunch of props. And there's a lot of like he had like guitars from Van Halen. He on his tour was like, oh yeah, this tower, Cher wrote a bunch of songs in it. So immediately called up Charlie and said, we're putting that in the script. And then he was like, you should see this crazy pigeonnerie. It's super creepy and it's the second biggest one in Dordogne. I was like, Charlie, we're going to have to rewrite that scene. We're going to have a pigeonnerie. I don't know what the fuck that is, but we're going to put it in the movie right now.
Going in the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, the shooting schedule was very fast, very quick.
Mm,
I think we filmed the movie in less than 3 weeks, I want to say.
crazy.
Wow.
We were at the castle total shooting maybe 12 days, and then we would take weekends off. And then we had other locations like a bar, a theater,
Music shop.
and a music shop, and those were all in like 2 days. So total, I think the production was 17, 18 days max.
Jeez.
It was insane, but it was a blast.
Our budget was like give everybody a ticket to France, beg them to come out and stay in this creepy castle for 2 weeks that was owned by this iconic music producer, and then just sort of improvise while we had the steady cam float around. And that was what we got on screen. I think it turned out pretty cool.
I mean, it's almost method, right? It's almost like
Yeah.
a location setting because
was
you're
very
in the
meta.
chateau.
Yes.
Yeah, very meta. We
People
didn't
were losing their minds.
Yeah, people were losing their minds. There's a lot of creepy stuff happening in terms of like the castle being haunted and stuff like that. But I will say that at least we ate very well.
Mm.
We had people working at the castle who were kind of like the groundskeepers and the caterers of the castle who made sure we were well fed every single day. And Gaelan introduced us to some wonderful French cuisine. So all in all, it was a pretty magical experience.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it. It sounds like it was probably as fun as it was probably stressful. And you know, I kind of
there was a lot of wine. We drank a lot of wine in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, just sort of balance out the stress, you know.
We Gaelan and I would
do.
take these little video diaries every day of just like checking in and seeing how we were doing, and it's so funny now watching them back. We were literally like pulling our hair out, just being like, "It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a good time. We're feeling awesome." Just like totally, just like in a grocery store, just like freaking out, like it's gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine.
So you essentially became Ryan's character by the end of the movie. You're just like, all right, we are kind of slowly losing our mind. And I'm curious about, you know, I kind of heard you allude a little bit to this, that some of the inspiration for some of the story beats kind of came from just being on location and seeing what you could do with it. I'm curious to know kind of how you worked in the horror beats as well, because it definitely shares, you know, it has a strong kind of thriller, but it also is very much a human, far more of a emotionally human story than most horror films will. So I'm curious to know kind of how you wove in the horror beats, and if you had any challenges, struggles, or if there's some things you left out because you're just like, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Charlie has the best answer to this, but first of all, thank you for saying that. That is so kind. Even if you are the only person on earth who comes away with that being the takeaway from the movie,
that's all we can ask for.
We really wanted to like use the horror as like the social anxiety that he was going through, but thematically tie it back to like, in the end, there's nothing scarier than real life. And that's sort of where the, you know, narrative goes. But Charlie.
So like in terms of trying to like place the horror beats and fitting them into the script, we had this Excel spreadsheet of just how can we torture Ryan throughout this, whether it be physically, whether it be emotionally, spiritually, like how can we put this guy through the ringer? And so we would have, you know, kind of very personal and vulnerable conversations of just like us going through our own experiences in the entertainment industry and receiving, you know, certain levels of success and then, you know, being humbled by lack thereof. And so we kind of combined all of those things of, you know, what we were fearful of as artists, as well as things that we would want to see in a horror movie that would be kind of cool. And I don't want to spoil anything, but we got some pretty cool scares.
I just going to say drumsticks became more terrifying than I've ever seen in my life. So.
Yeah, that was a good one. I just imagine as we were writing Charlie, like Ryan, unbeknownst to him, somewhere was in LA and he was like, you know, like, and then we're going to fucking do this. And God.
Why am I so sad?
Yeah, my back hurts.
Poor Ryan. I can only imagine the therapy he probably needs now from this.
He was a real trooper. Yeah, we would like on any given day, he would either be running, screaming, crying, or all three at the same time, depending on what the scene asked for.
So that's just like a Tuesday, right?
Exactly. Complete rock star. He put his body on the line anytime for the film. It was amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I got a couple more questions for you. One
Hit
being,
us.
how did you
Yeah.
get Jets to Brazil to get to work into this? That's such a, I mean, obviously you mentioned Jawbreaker in the film, and there's some
Yeah.
references there, but what a get, and how did that happen?
It was crazy. It was the other sort of serendipitous thing. You're looking at the universe to be like, man, all this stress, nobody believes in us. Like, should this happen? And getting an email back, we just cold emailed Blake. He was my idol growing up. And I love Jets Brazil. I listened to all three of their albums on my little Winamp player, on like Windows 98 or
Kick
whatever.
the llama's ass.
Yeah, exactly. It was like my time on the family computer, and I just like listened to Perfecting Loneliness. And it was amazing. We just thought we have to have a real band to center this movie and to give it the gravitas. We couldn't just like write the songs, I think. And we just cold emailed him, and he didn't answer. And we followed up, and I don't know if he answered. And we followed up one more time, and we were this was before we kicked off production and everything. This was like, we need a sign from the universe. And he just wrote back and he said, dude, movie sounds cool. Like, I've been, surfing in Costa Rica, and like, yeah, just go make some magic. And we were like, we will make some magic. We will make whatever
Yes,
you want to make you happy. Is this a legal document?
Can we get
And
your
we took it from
signature,
there.
please?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
awesome.
it's
I
just
mean,
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we do see, there are, quite a few artists that kind of dabble in either working in soundtracks or kind of providing original music for films. I mean, M83 obviously has done quite a bit of work
Oh,
in
hell
there. As well as Patrick Stump, from Fall Out Boy, had scored the movie Black Friday a few years ago. So it's just awesome to see that the combination of film and music coming together with two really well-known band, and some folks. You got some really well-known actors here coming from shows like The OC, Hung. You all know, kind of bring your own flair. So it's nice to see that come together.
Thanks.
As far as
Dude, thank you.
distribution goes, what was that like? Because the entertainment industry can be brutal. We talk to a lot of independent
I
filmmakers.
love this question.
Great question.
Because-
So glad you
Yes.
asked.
And I know it can be somewhat difficult and painful sometimes, but you guys got distribution. So
Mhm.
what was that like? Any lessons you would be able to share with folks that are also on their journey to seeking distribution, or just worried about the process?
We were very fortunate in that we kind of bypassed the film festival circuit, because we realized, like, what were we really looking for? What was the goal of going to these film festivals? And the goal was to find distribution. And again, it's such a tough excuse me, it's a tough market. It's a tough game going to these film festivals as like a truly independent film with no studio backing, no
No
funding,
sales agent,
no
no
sales
PR at the
agent.
time,
Like,
yeah.
it was literally Gaelan and I just like carrying this thing in a bag and being like, check out our movie. And
Yeah.
so
Being like, oh, this
Yeah.
person's the seventh, screener person in this one festival, and they wrote a blog post 5 years ago. I read your post. Would you check out our movie too?
And so Gaelan was saying that, like, we were getting a lot of no's, and we were just getting really frustrated with the whole aspect of it. And I had reached out to a friend and mentor of mine, Alex Winter, who was, a child actor turned filmmaker and producer. And I asked to have a Zoom chat with him one day, and I just wanted to like pick his brain and just like kind of make sure that like we weren't going crazy, that like this is kind of a common occurrence. And he was just like, nope, you boys are on the right path. Like, get ready to hear a lot of no's. You've got to do everything yourselves. But he said, reach out to Giant Pictures, who he had just worked with on Destroy All Neighbors. And he was like, I'll tell them that I know you and yada, yada. And so we reached out to Giant Pictures and we sent them our movie, and they dug it. And so it's just been a really, really great working relationship with them. And they've been nothing but supportive. And again, like, we were just this like small but mighty and determined crew. And for any advice, I don't know, Gaelan, I think it would just be keep going. Just believe in yourselves, because no one will unless you do.
Yeah, and I would just add real quick, because I frequent the Reddit filmmaker threads so much, and I'm trying to also just be like supportive there when everyone's like, I got my my 25th festival rejection. I'm like right there with them and stuff. We just gave ourselves a timeline too, which was like, we're going to play this game for 6 months. We're going to see if it happens, but the main goal is distribution because we want to get the movie out there, and not because we want to make money, but because we want to get the widest audiences possible. And I totally get the film festival circuit, but it's tough. And I think there's like this, you know, the silly saying, which is like, if you ask for money, people give you advice. If you ask for advice, people give you money. I think it's the same about like contacts, which was like, aside from Alex Winter, who is an amazing person and hooked us up with, set us up with Email Giant, we had done that to a lot of people and just were like, listen, we're not asking for anything. We made this film all ourselves. Is there anyone that we can fucking talk to that you may know in the industry? And we talked to a bunch of friends that I know that are more successful or at the same level, or even just on the other side, just still working on their first feature. And all of those meetings sort of got us in touch with, like, we got to talk to the wonderful people at Shudder. We got to talk to some, just even get an in on an email so we could get it to a no faster than just waiting and being like, well, maybe, you know, Paramount Plus is going to pick us up, so we shouldn't do anything until we are sure they're not, you know? So that was sort of the combination of just really asking whoever we had, and we cut a little trailer immediately so we could show people and get them a sense of the project. But yeah, I could talk about this for like ever, and it's fucking clusterfuck out there, you know? It's just, you gotta just wake up every morning, ignore all the shit of people who are telling you no for the last 10 years of your life, and just be like, yep, that's cool. I'm just going to write an email. I'm going to introduce myself. And I hope there's a human on the other side is interested. And 9 times out of 10, they're not, but whatever. The no's help you figure out where you can spend your time.
The lesson I learned from being a producer for the first time with Gaelan, especially, was just like the power of the follow-up email. Like there's nothing like a follow-up email. It can literally change your life. Because you just gotta be persistent, and
not rude or anything, not annoying. Just be like, hey, just tell me no. If you don't like, that's cool. That's fine. Because a lot of people are on the fence; they don't want to write back to you, and then you're not their priority, whatever. And I don't know. Yeah.
No, you know, I was talking with another filmmaker, Mitzi Perron, yesterday, and she said something very similar, which is like, you know, the hardest thing to do is to believe in yourself, and you know, she says, once I figured that out, you know, it was a lot easier for me to have a vision and to kind of go forward with it. And I think that, you know, a lot of times, having spent some of my career in sales as well as doing this stuff, you know, I know what rejection looks like on that end, and it's difficult. But at the same time, you're right. When you don't follow up, people get busy. Emails. I know my inbox, just like the unread email, becomes at the bottom of the list pretty quick. So it's just that follow up can keep you relevant, keep you fresh. And you know, I'm always curious to know what's next for you both, because I think what you've put together with Art of a Hit is something really special. And I would hope to see, you know, you guys continue to.
I'm getting goosebumps. Say that. This is going to go right on the poster. We designed, you know, we have an amazing poster designer. We can put whatever the hell we want.
I mean, people are going to love it. So I know that there's a huge audience for this, because a lot of people have had that experience being in a band, you know, having to struggle with what happens when things don't go the way you want them to, and trying to hold on to a dream. So, I mean, do you have any plans on what's next, or are you still just trying to enjoy the moment that is almost upon you?
We definitely are working on other projects. We're going to keep them under wraps for now, but the Gaelan and I love working together. We had such a blast making this movie together, and so Dewey and Bug LLC will be back, that's for sure.
We have, and I think also I always think about you're getting me like very emotional. We always talked about the Mark Duplass, like, you know, the Cavalry isn't coming bit, and I think what's really cool is like we're somewhere in that journey now where I think this is like a step up in the filmmaking we've done, and I think the actors we got to use in this are incredible, and they're all taking off in their own ways. And I think this is like, I care so much more about just anyone watching it than any sort of $2.99 that it costs. Seriously, like for me, it's just like, if you have 90 minutes, 93 minutes, this is going to be a great time. Please watch it. And that would be we'd be so humbled by that. You know, more than any sort of commercial success from it. I think it's just like, fuck, I think people who are in bands are going to love it. So come hang out.
It's like almost like that's the thesis of the film, at least what I took away, is that the conversation of, do you make art for the love of creativity, or do you make it to become famous? And I think, you know, what you're kind of explaining is kind of puts a pin on and again, we're not going to spoil anything here, but that at the end of the day, you have to reconcile that as a creative, your goal should never be profit, because that's not the point.
Yeah.
But rather, if you create and you continue to create with that same level of passion and intensity, that, you know, whatever happens, but at least you've created something that you're proud of. So I think that, you know, if there's no other reason to see this aside from interest, it's because people need to hear that some, you know, especially creatives in any industry, that, you know, sometimes you have to cut some things loose in order to free yourself to do other things. And I think there's a lot of poignancy in the film from there. And my last question for you both is...
Damn, that was such a nice thing to say. This is the best interview I've ever fucking been in, dude. This is awesome.
Oh my goodness. My heart's going to explode over here in the best way possible. But
Staley's like, this is the only interview he's ever done in his life. No.
I don't even know where I am right now. They just dropped me off and told me to say things. But so I love to ask this question because I always think it kind of gets some interesting responses. But if, you know, you're programming a film festival, or sorry, a double feature, and your Art of a Hit is one of the movies you're going to play, what's the other movie you're putting with it? Doesn't matter what order they're in, but what the other movie you're putting with it.
I mean, Made in Manhattan. It's got Oscar winner Ralph Fiennes.
Really?
Like, this is, it's good. No,
It's a very J-Lo thing.
He legitimately loves Made in Manhattan. It's one of his favorites. It's a great film, but
it's my go-to.
Oh man,
Charlie probably has a better answer. That's for real.
Well, like
Dig, the documentary Dig.
Yeah, that's great.
From 2004. We watched it to prep this movie, and it's about the Dandy Warhols and the Brian Jonestown massacre, as one of them was signed to Capitol Records and one of them just did a lot of heroin and kind of threw their artistic ability away. And they had this sort of love-hate relationship between, like, is the grass greener over there? Or, like, you know, the Dandy Warhols were like, wait, they did like a photo shoot in the heroin house, even though they had sold out. And it was just crazy. So we watched this movie. It was an amazing documentary from 2004 about bands. And I would say watch that with this. It'd be awesome.
That's good. I'll say this is Spinal Tap, but watch Art of a Hit first, and then you'll be kind of like bummed out or however you'll feel about it. And then watch Spinal Tap for a little bit of levity and a little bit of playfulness, kind of like round out your evening.
You know, if only Ryan had an amp that went to 11, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Maybe the whole movie would have been different. If only.
It would have been.
Those are both great recommendations, and I think anything music related, you know, it was Decline of Western Civilization. You know, pick any one of those, but the third one, I guess, that's more heavy metal.
Wait. We should have said Band Slam.
There we go.
Oh shit! Yes,
watch
because
Band
that's where we all met.
Yeah, that's the film we all met on, and so people have said that, like, Art of a Hit is kind of like the bizarro, fucked up sequel to Band Slam, and we're like, I guess in a way it kind of is, yeah. But I'll stick with Spinal Tap.
And Todd Graff, who is the director of Band Slam, humored us and was the reason we all got together 15 years ago and humored us. And he is the voice of Alan, the agent that you hear in the movie. And that was like a really come full circle moment.
Total full circle, yeah.
Well, in the world of multiverses, maybe Art of a Hit is the multiverse option of Band Slam. So
get ready for people to start coming through the portals.
Need to see Charlie, you know, in the movie kind of come through another portal to go help other bands in different parts of time and different multiverses with his Rick Rubin as analog approach to things. So.
Yes, 1,000%.
I love it.
Charlie, Gaelan, I don't know if I've had this much fun on an interview in a long time.
Dude,
thank
this
you
is
guys
awesome.
so much. And for everyone who's watching this, you know, if you're not convinced by how good of a conversation this was, the Art of a Hit's worth your time. I'm going to tell you again, it is. You can go and check it out on digital on demand on August 20th. You have no excuse. Most have access to the internet, so you should have no excuse. And Charlie, Gaelan, I'm so excited to have everyone else see this, but also whatever you all both are up to next. So please keep us in mind, and I'll certainly want to stay in touch. But thank you.
Thank you so much, of course. Man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. This is incredible.
This is awesome.
So, hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily, and I am joined by none other than two of the stars of the upcoming horror thriller film Art of a Hit, which will be out on August 20th from Giant Pictures. I'm here with Rob Raco as well as Ryan Donowho. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, I know we don't have all the time in the world, and even if we did, we probably wouldn't want to spend it with me. But nevertheless, we'll get right into our questions. So, first one is, I know you. Is it safe to say you both have some musical experience in your personal lives before ending into Art of a Hit?
Yes, I've played drums for years and produce music for years, and I started playing when I was in third grade, really, and ended up playing drums on the streets of New York for about 11 years.
Awesome. How about you, Rob?
Yeah, I was a touring drummer for 10, 15 years, and then got lucky in the acting world and just kind of went off, and now I'm trying to mix both back in. I miss it. So I'm nowhere near as good as Ryan. He's a rock star, man. That guy's an incredible talent.
It's not true. If it comes to drumming, this guy has me in space. Maybe buckets. I can do something on buckets, but drums, drum kit, this guy all the way.
I don't believe it.
It's an admiration fest over here. This is amazing. So, based on your both kind of background in the music industry, how did that inform your performances and how you showed up in your characters?
Well, I actually had to take some guitar lessons because I'm not much of a guitarist. So I took lessons from actually one of the guys who ended up recording some of the music for the film, and just learned the songs that I had to learn. I'd played a guitarist before in the past, so I kind of know my way around a little bit, but not well enough to, fully play these songs, especially some of the picking stuff. So
right,
it took a little bit.
Are you a bass player, Rob?
I'm not. I mean, I grew up obviously a drummer, and so the rhythm section, they're kind of married. More than being a musician in this film was the energy of what it means to be the frontman businessman, which I've dealt with my whole life. So I was funny enough that in my band I was the drummer, but it was kind of business forward. What are we doing? What are we doing? And so relating to Miles and prepping to this was quite fun to relive conversations I had before entering now this career, to be like, hey, either shit or get off the pot. Like, it's time to take this entity we have and move forward instead of just being content. And so that was more of my prep, was being the guy.
And it's interesting because I think there's a question at the center of Art of a Hit which asks, is it better to create art and potentially have no one hear it, or is it better to create art that everyone hears but that you aren't in love with? And I'm curious to know kind of where you all end up on this kind of philosophical end of the conversation. Are you more about creating for the sake of the love or creating for the sake of the dollar?
I think this is a great question, and when it comes to music, it's tough. I think even at the commercial settings, you always love it. You're so grateful. In the film setting, if you take a commercial film that gets all the eyes in the world, that maybe isn't the most respected, or do you want an independent film that you love that maybe no one sees? And I would go commercial to be able to create the independence that I know the success of the commercial films can then lend to, which is something I feel Art of a Hit is. Like, we all come from certain commercial settings here to be able to say, hey, look at this little thing we got to do in France that's now, getting some legs. I think these are the projects and these are the reasons why. That's my opinion.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
I'd have to agree with Rob on that. If you do the big things, so you can do the little things, I think it was Lemon who said he, do 3 projects a year, one for the art, one for the money, and one for the location. Right. And on this one, we had two out of 3 of that. We had the location and we had the art. This was definitely a passion project for, I think, everyone involved. Everyone wore so many hats.
Did you not do this for the money? I only did this for the money.
I got a fat paycheck. Don't.
Oh yeah, bro.
I know that I got paid more than you, so I'm just, no, that's not true.
Pay transparency in real life.
We all got paid the exact same on this.
It was great.
Which was a gum stick and $1. But yeah, it was it was one of those things where everybody just worked so hard, and definitely this was for the art. So I hope people see it, because
me too.
Yeah, because the art, I mean, every now and then the intersection of art and profit do crossovers. So I think you all are onto something with Art of a Hit. And again, hope, as folks see it on the 20th, I'm sure they'll agree. Now I know you both have worked in the genre before, and while Art of a Hit definitely has its horror beats to it, it is much more of kind of a dramatic thriller in some ways. But I'm curious, kind of, how does your previous work within kind of the horror genre and the thriller genre, is there anything you've learned through those experiences that has helped you with continuing to get roles like these, or in the role that the roles you had for Art of a Hit?
I don't remember my journey truly in the horror genre. It was early days for me when I was in it. And I think I was just so excited to be on a movie set that I'm like, oh my God, it didn't really click. This was the first time as, an actor that's had some legs in this industry to say, this is very cool. The only thing I didn't really play is the horror, right? That's it.
Yeah.
You're in the dramaturgy of what these characters are going through, which leads to more psychological horror within the artist, and everything else. It's just the magic of filmmaking. So it was fun to play just that and find the truth with Ryan as my scene partner and be like, hey, this is real. And then how you deal with this is kind of that horror. And then everything else, you go from there.
Yeah, I think, for me, if it's like what Rob said, if you drop in and you're real and you're just, and luckily enough, everyone on this project, just some great actors, it's everything felt real. And a lot of us already knew each other for years now.
Okay.
Gaelan, and Charlie, who co-wrote it together, and Tim, Joe, and myself were all in a movie called Band Slam, which was like 15 years ago. So we already had this camaraderie. So all the overlapping and talking over each other and kind of, making it a little sloppy and making it real, was real, because we've known each other for so long, and when Rob got in, he immediately just like fell into the groove. And I remember when we were doing our first big dialogue VMA scene, we didn't really know each other at that point. We'd known each other maybe for about 24 hours. And then after like 2 takes, I was like, I've known this guy my entire life. Like we just, clicked. So yeah, I think if you just play the real, then the horror is there.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can feel the kind of intimacy and vulnerability between the characters, and it does, and just unpacking the layers of connection, as you said, I talked with Charlie and Gaelan about the Band Slam and how they said Art of a Hit is kind of like, Band Slam 15 years later, right? So they're obviously keeping those connections strong kind of helps with continued work and also just the way you can show up on set. But I'm also curious to know, what were the most challenging and rewarding parts of this process for you both? Rob, obviously your role kind of is somewhat antagonistic, I guess, but not by your own fault, rather just by your own talent. So, as far as showing up and showing into that role, what was the most challenging part about that, but also the most rewarding part of that for you? And same for you, Ryan, how do you step into this main character role who's going through what is the existential crises of existential crises?
Well, Miles wears a big backpack in this, and it's supporting life and career and talent and all this, but seeing the progress. It's something that Rob, deal with, where I'm like, who's your tribe? Who's your ecosystem in this immediate, crazy Hollywood world, right? Who do you want to win with? And if they're bringing you down to their level while you're on an uprise, do you need them? And it's such a tough decision. So to be able to win with a tribe, I'm like, the challenge in that is how real it is. To be honest, the challenge in that is like, I have to face this conversation at X amount of, times a year to be like, I'm going to go here. Do you see what's happening? Do you want to navigate this with me? Do you want to do this? And like Ryan said, we just kind of locked into that. We just became brothers and threw it all away. And I'm like, man, I know this guy. I know this guy. I know where he's at. I've been him. I think he's been me in this same world. And we're like, let's just ping pong back and forth with this scene. Let's try it your way. Let's try my way. Let's try to land this. So the challenge was realistically just really committing to the truth and having fun within those, borders and kicking him down. I was blessed to have such an incredible scene partner to work with. So let's take it to the big man.
I mean, for my character, I was in actually a band with Tim Joe for years. We were after we did Band Slam, we were in a band for like 8 years together or something. And it was a pretty big band. So I've done the thing where you're trying to keep this family together. You're doing everything that you possibly can to like organize all these people and write these songs together and make sure everybody shows up on time and make sure, and that was my role in our band. So once I read the script, I was kind of like, I know this guy.
This is me.
Yeah, like I've literally been this guy, like making the calls, praying that everybody shows up, trying to make an album, and so yeah, it was all really natural once I got there, and once I read the script, I was like, I feel like you guys wrote it for me, even though they didn't. And they should have.
Well, it's funny, when I spoke with Charlie and Gaelan about this, they said one of the hardest things is believing in yourself, right, and believing in your vision. And I can hear that kind of in kind of what you're saying, Rob, and also what you're bringing to this, Ryan, as well, is that there is, it's hard to kind of be real and vulnerable, especially when the material speaks to you in such a way that kind of feels like it's pulled from your past, right? Mm-hmm. But obviously, it seems like the reward clearly is that you all become fast friends through this process, and you meet some new amazing people that hopefully you'll continue to see over the next 15 or so years. And to that end, my favorite question to ask everyone is, if you're programming a double feature with Art of a Hit, let's say it's one of the movies that's playing, but you have to pick the other movie, what other movie are you putting with it? So I'll start with you, Ryan. What's a double feature pick you're lining up with Art of a Hit?
Yeah, that's a good one. It'd have to be something in the vein, right?
Go all over the place.
Yeah. Well, God, what's the documentary about the Dandy Warhols and Dig?
Oh yeah,
Dig.
Yeah, that's great.
I watched Dig twice before this movie because it just lended itself so much to it. And we'd all Charlie and Gaelan and I all talked about it. He was like, you got to watch Dig. I was like, I've seen it on the big screen. I'm definitely going to watch it again. So yeah, probably Dig.
About you, Rob?
I don't know, man. What would I want to go here? If you're asking me, like, what would I want to go see with this? Let's make it fun. Let's do 7 and Art of a Hit. Let's go have 2 psychological thrillers. Let's go to the cop side, go to the band side. Let's do that.
That was actually my second pick. I was going to say that. Yeah. 7.
Yeah.
I figured a serial killer movie is going to be in there somewhere. So I'm glad, Rob, you hit the nail on that one. But it's funny you mentioned Dig, Ryan, because that's exactly what either Gaelan or Charlie said in our interview. As Dig was the first thing came. That and this is Spinal Tap. So I think both could work out just well. But gentlemen, I just want to thank you both so much for the time today, and just reminder to everyone watching this, please go out and go out and see Art of a Hit. You have no excuse. It'll be on VOD on August 20th, so you can watch it at home. From Giant Pictures. And again, Rob and Ryan, really appreciate you being here with me today, and looking forward to seeing whatever you're in next. So thanks for the time.
Pat, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us.